Hello. So my nose is a little bit less gunky today than it was on Friday. So I'm going to try to do some reviews. I'm still not at 100%, so I'm going to basically play to my strengths here. In my drinking history, I have probably done notes on more single malts than anything else. So we're just going to do some single malts because I feel like that's what I'm going to be able to hit the best. And we're going to do some Highlanders. I've had these airing out for about 20 minutes now. I'm hoping that'll be enough. A bunch of Highland whiskies I've been meaning to review. And two of them are new or more or less new. So we got Ardnamurchan from the far southwest Highlands. This is a new distillery from the folks at Adelphi. Oh, that's too much. Oh well. Which I'm excited about. We have got Glenglassaugh Evolution from Glenglassaugh in basically the very far northwest corner of the Eastern Highlands. Sometimes counted as a space cider, but it's really like halfway in between Elgin and Banff. I tried this back in the day and I did not enjoy it, but I have a new sample, so let's see what it's got. And just to kind of give these things some context, I'm going to put it against an old classic. Old classic distillery-wise, rather new bottling. Ben Nevis 10-year-old. Ben Nevis 10 at 46%. Has been a rather divisive bottling, apparently. Some reviewers are pushing up to towards the 90s. Some are way, way lower than that. So I'm curious to see how I will act. I just realized I do not have my dropper, so this is important. It means I can add water at a consistent and controlled amount. All right, let's get this started. Starting out with the Ben Nevis, because that's the lowest ABV. We're just going to go up in order of ABV here. Okay. Ooh. Complex, fruity, orange and apple sauce right off the bat, but there's also a fair bit of like minerality going on. Yes, sea salt, rocks, just gravel, really. Hints of like a spicy Dijon mustard in there. Most of the Ben Nevis I've had has probably been sherried. I do not think there's a whole lot of sherry cask in this. At least I'm not really picking up on. At least I don't think it's like a ton of fresh sherry. Hints of kind of a green nuttiness. I'm not really getting any peat in here, but Ben Nevis does do peated batches. They do a whole bunch of different types of distillate. So they do the standard Ben Nevis, which is long fermentation, but not really any peat. They do peated, and then they do a short fermentation, which gets sent over to Japan for the Nika blends. A little bit of like a gummy worm thing coming out now. It's fun. There's lots of different little things going on. I remember someone suggesting this to me as a Springbank substitute, and I can't totally get there, but I can see it. I can see that it's got a little bit of that savory, kind of green nut thing happening, which I like, which I appreciate. Quite peppery too. Lots of black pepper, but also like a kind of a spicy paprika note as well. It's fun. Ben Nevis tends to be fun. On the palate, Interesting. Tough to get a beat on this one. Let me try this again. Spicy applesauce with a squirt of lime. I'm sorry, not lime. Actually, wait, there is lime in there. Lime zest, not lime juice. With a squirt of orange juice. There's quite a lot of orange character going on there. Almost a Grand Marnier note. The black pepper is there. A little bit of cayenne is there as well. The gravel is definitely in play here. Touch of floral character, which I wasn't really getting on the nose. Just a little bit of like dried flowers happening. The Dijon mustard is still there. That kind of green nuttiness is still there. And a little bit of like a coffee grinds sort of note. So like stale coffee grinds, but nice. Touch of Darjeeling in there as well. This is good. It's more of a cerebral one. This is a thinker. This is a thinker kind of whiskey. You know, like, well, Springbank, but also like Craig Ellicky or something. It's not one I would throw at a beginner, but it is, you know, I'm enjoying it so far. I'm going to give that a squirt, and we will move on to the Ardnamurchan. This is the AD/10.21:06, one of my favorites. Bottle at 46.8% alcohol. I'll put information as I find it about these things, about, you know, underneath. Oh, okay. This one is actually peated. I did not think any of these were peated. I thought I'd picked unpeated ones, but there is... It's not an aggressive amount of peat. This is not, you know, Ardbeg or anything. It's more like Ardmore levels of peat, or even a hair less than that. But is really playing a leading note here. There's certainly some bourbon barrel happening, vanilla, baked apple, English breakfast tea. I should talk more about the peat. The peat is, it's a twiggier style of peat. This isn't really Isla Maritime peat. It isn't medicinal peat. It isn't that that kind of stinky barnyardy peat you get in a lot of mainland peated whiskeys. This is much more twiggy. It's almost like a Highland Parkish peat. Actually, Highland Park might be the closest point of reference to me in trying to describe this. Again, a little bit of floral creeping through, a little bit of dried grass. Clumps of just topsoil. I mean, it's very competent, but it's not giving you a whole broad range of notes here. I mean, it smells like a very pleasant, youngish, bourbon barrel, peated malt whiskey, which I'm enjoying. Let's see what happens on the palate. Sort of the same story on the palate. The sense of youth on this, I don't know how old this is, but it doesn't seem particularly old. I would think no older than 6-7 years. The sense of youth in this manifests in what I sometimes call the mouth length. There's a lot of action happening, but it's all happening at the front of my mouth. Like once we're back at the molars, nothing is happening beyond that. Often water will improve that. We'll see what that happens here. But I'm just pointing out, like, that it's one of the indications of a, you know, a younger whiskey, that even if it's had a lot of cask, like, punched into it real fast, like, you will have that kind of short mouth length, everything happening in the front. But you know what? It's a young peated whiskey in a bourbon barrel, and that's always going to work. Vanilla plus peat is just always going to work. Where do I start? Okay, so again, the peat levels are pretty withdrawn, somewhere between Ardmore and like standard Ben Romac is the peat level you're talking about here. Again, you've got that kind of baked apple-y thing. A little bit of dried dirt, black pepper, English breakfast tea again. Some, like, you know, toasted nutshells happening. The peat again is kind of that twiggy Highland Park style. And a little hint of mustardiness on this as well, actually. It's more mustard seed than Dijon mustard. Actually, it reminds me, geographically, Ardnamurchan is not that far from Tobermory Distillery. Obviously, Tobermory is on the Isle of Mull, which is an island. But if you kind of go across the water, I mean, Ardnamurchan's kind of right there. And you get that little, for me, there's that little, you know, terroir similarity, just in the fact that they're both kind of throwing me some mustard seed. It's young, it's nice, but it's young. And that's about all I got to say about that one. We'll give it some water, come back in a second. And we are on to the Glenglassaugh. Glenglassaugh, a rather old distillery, goes back to the mid-19th century sometime. But it was shut down in the kind of mid-late 80s and only got, you know, started up again, rebuilt around 2008. And then it got bought out by Ben Riach, which in turn got bought out by Brown-Forman. So this is a Brown-Forman product. Let us see what they have here. No indication of batch on this guy, but I'm guessing bottled around the same time as these others, so 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. No age statement, but it is matured in ex-Tennessee whiskey casks. Non-chill filter, natural color, 50% alcohol by volume. Here we go. It's actually it's far more similar to the Ben Nevis stylistically than it is to the Ardnamurchan. Again, I'm getting a fair bit of like candied orange on this, like oranginess. But there's also a fair bit of just like raw barley. So apple, pear, oatmeal, just kind of graininess, but pleasant. Vanilla, creme brulee, touch of like, you know, that little bit of latte left in your cup after you're done with it. It smells a little bit like that. Some pepper creeping in. Maybe a clump of like mixed mud and fresh grass. It's nice. It's It's a much cleaner signature than the Ardnamurchan, obviously. Much more kind of driven by just the raw maltiness, which sometimes I like. But it also seems, at least on the nose, pretty young. I'm getting distillate, I'm getting cask. I'm not really getting a lot of those sort of more complex tertiary notes. Let's see what happens on the palate. Kind of the same story. Barley driven, young, simple, but delicious. Let's talk about that again, about that clump of mud and grass, because that is most definitely in play here. I was working on my dying computer this morning, and it's over there in the corner with the fan whirring away. If you're wondering what that sound is, yeah, very muddy, very grassy. But beyond that, again, we're talking fresh oatmeal with a lot of like hot baked apples and pears and a little quince dropped in. Slightly ashy, again, that kind of creme brulee vanilla note, I'm guessing from the cask. That's really about it. It does actually have a little bit of a longer mouth length than the Ardnamurchan, but it's still pretty short in the mouth. The finish hangs on fairly long, actually. It's just kind of like this kind of, you know, muddy, ashy, but vanilla sweet sort of thing. Not profound, but pleasant enough. So that's annoying. I was hoping that one of these other two would take it from the Ben Nevis. And at least at this point, I don't know. I do not think that is going to happen. But we shall see. Okay, let us go back. Go through these again now that I've added a little bit of water on the nose of the Ben Nevis 10-year-old. There's just more going on. There's just more going on. Even than the Ardnamurchan, which has the peat to kind of help it. Oh, what is that? There's almost like there's a sour fruit kind of note in this that I know what that is, and I cannot pick up on it. It's almost like a nectarine that isn't like ripe yet. Green nectarine. Oh, that's fun. Very fruity, but at the same time, very kind of spicy, savory. There's a little bit of like I keep reusing this note, but almost a little bit of a shochu note in there, like a barley shochu, honestly. Not a huge bunch of development on the nose. It gets a little bit more peppery. The black pepper kind of kicks out, but that's about it. And that kind of nectarine thing. But hey, I mean, it's a 10-year-old. Like, this doesn't need to bring a whole lot of development when you add water. On the palate, you can just tell this has been in barrel, not even a more active barrel, but just in barrel a little bit longer, because this is going, you know, fairly deep back into my throat in terms of the mouth length. It's fruity, it's ashy. There's a little bit of like a stowed Virginia tobacco kind of thing going on. It's not like changing my world or anything, but this is a very pleasant, complex malt. The only thing about it is it's, you know, this is not this is one that's going to demand a little bit of your attention. Like, you can't just slug this back and forget about it. But yeah, this is very good. I'm going to give this, I can't make it to 86. I'm going to give this 85 plus. Come on, right. 85 plus. Out of 100. Yeah, nice. Well done from Ben Nevis, but I mean, they're the veterans in this, right? So they're the ones you would expect to deliver. All right, moving back to the Ardnamurchan. See what this thing has done with some water. It has kicked out a nice gust of campfire smoke alongside the peat, which I'm enjoying. And that's really about it. It's pretty much the same otherwise. It's a nice, clean, twiggy, vanilla-driven, you know, mildly peated young whiskey. That's what it is. And I'm okay with that. On the palate, there's a little touch of a honey note coming out now, which is nice. Almost like a Manuka honey kind of thing. The pepper kicks in a little bit more. It was already very peppery, but now the pepper is speaking up even more. The mouth length really hasn't improved though. It's all still kind of way in the front here. Nothing happening beyond my molars, which is fine. This is a young whiskey. It's not too expensive. Nice kind of medium longish finish. Yeah, I'm gonna give this what would I give this? It's higher than an 84, lower than an 86. Try it one more time. I'll try the Ben Nevis one more time. You know what? The Ben Nevis is better, but it's not that much better. I'm going to give the Ardnamurchan a flat 85. The Ben Nevis has more intrinsic complexity to it. There's more going on in the signature. There's more to think about. But in terms of if it isn't actually a better whiskey, does it, you know, I mean, yeah, it's ahead, but it's not that far ahead. 85 plus versus 85. And I'm going to stick to that. Okay, let's move on to the Glenglassaugh. This was the one I mentioned, the shochu thing, right? It's kind of coming out more. So it's almost like oatmeal that you've dumped some oatmeal with apples and pear and stuff that you've dumped a little bit of barley shochu into. That's kind of what I'm getting. And I'm enjoying it. I do love that kind of like muddy, grassy ball thing. It reminds me of, you know, being a kid and just playing in the mud in the backyard. Yeah, not profound by any means, but I don't hate this. I really don't. On the palate, On this one, the mouth length does improve a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if this was actually, the evolution here was actually older than this Ardnamurchan. Still not, you know, still not pushing as far back as the Ben Nevis is, but there is improvement on that end of things. Grass, mud, oatmeal, barley shochu, apple, pear, black pepper, ash. That's about it. It does improve. It does improve with a little bit of water. Bear that in mind. I'm not going to give this a huge score, but I think it's worth a look. Like if you were in the market for, no one is in the market for like muddy, grassy, you know, barley-driven whiskey, right? No one is. Like, but if you are that customer, take a look at this. If you can get it at a reasonable price, I'm going to give this an 83 plus. Come on. Right. Okay. Yeah, I can write on the back. 83. Come on. Okay, that'll have to do. 83 plus. I'm into this. I'm enjoying it. It's young, it's simple, but it does improve with water, and there's some character there. It just needs time. And that's the lineup. 85 plus for the Ben Nevis 10. 85 flat for the Ardnamurchan AD 10 2106. Sounds like an Audi or something, Jesus. And the Glenglassaugh Evolution gets 83 plus. Nice little close cluster there. Thanks for watching, and cheers.